Even today, few tourists visit the spectacular Kaçkar Mountains. This lofty region of northeast Anatolia, near the Georgian border, is still a relatively unknown part of Turkey. But its deep gorges, its unending steppe, and its alpine pastures are well worth seeing. At the crossroads of civilization, the Kaçkar region has a wide historical heritage with Orthodox, Muslim, Byzantine, and Catholic influences. Proud of their cultural legacy, the inhabitants are also delighted to demonstrate the diversity of the region's natural resources, such as tea and honey. So, our journey promises us outstanding discoveries. We start in the very heart of the Kaçkar Mountains, an eastern extension of the Pontic Range. Hidden away in these remote valleys that border the Black Sea, many villages are found at very high altitudes, such as Petran, located at over 2,400 meters. In winter, avalanches frequently block access to the villages. The narrow road that winds toward Petran is rarely used in winter, and the houses are often abandoned during the cold months. But Mehmet Kurt lives in the village all year round. His daughters, who attend school lower down in the valley, join him whenever they can.
The people who live here are mostly cattle or sheep herders. There's nothing else. As you can see, there's snow here. In winter, there's lots of snow, but in summer, nature resumes its rights. So in the meantime, we warm ourselves by the wood stove.
We're in Laz country here. The Laz are an ethnic group of Georgian origin. They speak their own language and have their own culture. And they use Lazboards. This contraption was formerly used by farmers. The village herders demonstrate its use. The Lazboard might just be the precursor of snowboarding. It's difficult to attain such balance.
We inherited it from our ancestors. It's hard to say how old it is, but it's undoubtedly more than 200 years. Our great-grandfathers invented it. At first, it was used as a means of transport, to descend quickly down into the valleys.
The peasants then dragged their Lazboards uphill, full of fodder or food, back to their villages.
There were no roads here then, no stores. People used these planks as means of transport, for getting around.
In a neighboring valley near Surmene, a strong Greek presence can still be felt today. Even long after their departure following the Greco-Turkish War in 1923, it can still be seen in the countryside today by the abandoned monasteries, or by the Greek Orthodox Church in Sida, now transformed into a mosque. A little higher up, in the village of Karasya, is one of the few places in the region to have preserved its charm of bygone times, with its half-timbered wooden houses framed by white stone. Celal champions the preservation of this heritage.
This is the Greek-style houses.
These are Greek-style houses.
The Greek people.
In the past, the region was inhabited by Greeks, but not here. This village was Ottoman. The Greeks lived in the surrounding valleys.
The Greek people were living. When we came here, we were living.
At the very beginning, we lived in this house. When the family got too large for it, my parents built a larger house, and some of us moved there.
To these houses.
When I was young, I played football and basketball in this room.
In here.
Today, the house is rented to a family who lives there all year long. But here also, very few houses are occupied during the winter. Above Celal's village at 1,400 meters altitude, snow covers the ground throughout the cold season. Every day, regardless of the weather, the sheep are taken outside. This rustic breed is very resistant to the cold. We arrive on the crest of this mountain, where Koy Duzu was founded 850 years ago. Its position was doubly strategic. The town was both a stopping-off point for caravans coming from Iran, as well as an obligatory summer transit point for the Alpine pastures. Aslan Bayraktar, with his legendary local moustache, has run this small cafe for dozens of years. Celal likes to come here and listen to Aslan's reminiscences.
According to the Muslim calendar, this house is 120 years old. My grandfather built it. I'm the third generation.
Aslan also sells a few basic staples to the local population, but he anxiously awaits the summer with its throng of visitors. Let's return to the shores of the Black Sea and wander through the small streets of Surmene. Here, the climate is more clement than in the mountains. The town is famous for its handcrafted traditional knives. Merely decorative today, these daggers were originally designed as defensive weapons to be concealed under clothing. Tayfun Sarik is an expert craftsman. His knives are true works of art.
Surmene knives are an art form that has been passed down from generation to generation. The Greeks were the first specialists. Our ancestors then mastered this skill and kept it alive. Thanks to its skilled workers and their expertise, Surmene remained an important center for cutlery. We know how to work steel. We understand its subtleties. We beat steel, but we beat it with passion. To harden the steel, our ancestors quenched it in fish oil. As it was a steel that oxidized, this rendered the knives even sharper.
Hidden up these valleys, dozens of kilometers from the Black Sea, Greek monks found spectacular settings in which to live isolated from the world. Founded in the 8th century, the Kushtul Monastery is one of the very best examples. These ruins are proof of the energy that was needed in order to establish it on this rocky outcrop. The Sumela monastery is much better known. Dominating the Altinderi Valley since the 4th century, it hangs from a rock face at 1,200 meters altitude. It has managed to survive landslides and rockfalls which have regularly blocked access to the site, and restoration has often been needed. But the oldest and most mysterious is the Vazalon monastery. Founded in AD 270, this early Christian and later Greek Orthodox monastery remained occupied until 1922. Destroyed during the Greco-Turkish conflict, it was once an important religious center and was actually a direct dependency of the Patriarch of Constantinople. Leaving Rize, all roads seem to climb towards the Kaçkar Degi, but the valley that leads to Çamalşin offers the most spectacular views, especially from the village of Ayder. At 1,300 meters altitude, this hamlet is a curiosity for all lowlanders who live by the sea. For here, only 2 hours away by road, the inhabitants of coastal regions can find snow. Even though new hotels pop up every year, the village is still far removed from the opulence of many European-style winter resorts. Visitors are not always properly equipped to confront the winter conditions. But who cares, as long as they can profit from this Alpine setting with its wooden chalets and the snow. They've no skis, so the holidaymakers try sliding around on inner tubes. The horon is a traditional folk dance from the Black Sea region. People form large circles and dance to the rhythmic sound of the Tulum, a local type of bagpipe. Only 15 years ago, the number of families that spent the winter here, originally a simple village of Alpine herders, was very small. Above Kaçkar dominates the Pontus range. The more adventurous among them would climb to 2,000 meters altitude and find perfect conditions for free riding. In winter, all that can be seen of Asavur are the roofs of the houses. This village only comes to life in the summer. The Tulum is played at all the local celebrations in the valleys of the Rize province. An artisan in Ardesen, Fiatina Mahalesi, is a master craftsman. Everything is done by hand. The instrument is made of wood and reeds. The bag itself is made of sheep hide. The fabrication of the chanter requires great precision. A tulum can only produce 5 notes, and when played loudly, the slightest error produces an unbearable sound. The reed is the key element of the instrument.
En önemli parçası kamış.
The most important part is the reed.
Kamış.
It's the reed that generates the sound.
Kamışı tutmaya yarıyor.
The wooden chanter only holds the reed and connects it to the skin bag.
Dilliklerde şurada gösterdiğim.
This piece is what allows the sound to escape. The 2 reeds must be at the same level. The reeds come from Adana, Mersin and Tarsus. They're better quality. We prefer reeds that come from these regions.
Gidip oradan topluyoruz.
As with many of the regional valleys, the Hem Sin Valley contains a number of isolated and undeniably charming villages. In Ortaköy, only 4 houses are occupied during the winter. Most of the houses are made of wood, and in spite of the snow and heavy rains, they remain in good condition. Amulets are hung from the main beams to ward off the evil eye. Isel's house is divided into 2 parts. On one side, there is a magnificent granary which could also accommodate livestock. And on the other, the living quarters, with its indispensable chimney and stove upon which a samovar permanently brews hot tea.
Right now it's winter. There are only 5 or 6 people living in the village, but in summer there are about 50. And it's the same in all the nearby villages. They're deserted during the winter.
Near the village, there is a group of old Roman bridges spanning the Fyatina River. Truly remarkable works of art, they are regularly maintained. Founded by the Greeks in the 7th century BC, Trabzon is the major city in the region, and it has always held a strategic position. As the gateway to Asia, it was once an internationally important commercial center. Located on the Silk Road, its importance formally warranted the ephemeral existence of French and British consulates within its walls. For a long time, Trabzon maintained a religious and ethnic diversity, as well as colonies of foreign merchants. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Pontic and Armenian genocides destroyed the local equilibrium. Today, the city is a sought-after winter destination. Its agreeable climate offers a mild transition between the coolness of the Black Sea shores and the hot and humid weather of Asia. With the world's largest gold reserve, Turkey has always prized this precious metal. Around 650 BC, the first gold coins in the world were minted in Lydia, then part of the Byzantine Empire. Since then, whether at weddings or at births, gold has frequently been present at celebrations throughout Turkey. The hammers of the coppersmiths still ring in the old bazaar, but it's becoming a rarer and rarer sound. Yet the more tenacious vendors still manage to sell their traditional wares. There were numerous caravanserais along the Silk Road during the heyday of commercial exchange between Asia and Europe. Built in 1461 in the center of the town, the Bedesten of Trabzon is still active. Today, it sells local handicrafts. The nearby bakeries sell a typical and delicious bread that's sold by the slice, as well as pide bread, a local speciality. Similar to Italian pizza, it's covered with a generous helping of cheese and mutton. Erected at the beginning of the Common Era, the ramparts were reconstructed in the 6th century AD by the Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian the Great. Today, only a few fragments remain. Statues of Ataturk, the founding father of modern Turkey, and of Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent stand near the historic center. Here, the old buildings have been handsomely restored, giving considerable charm to the historic center of the town. Originally a church, this mosque is a perfect example. Despite the early hour, the small port of Faros is in full swing. The fishermen left port in the middle of the night and braved cold winter temperatures to fish for perch and anchovies. Now they have to empty the nets, a tedious task at best. Once the wholesalers have left with the fish, the fishermen can finally get warm and have some rest. Last night it snowed in the nearby mountains. The kemençe is a popular instrument for local traditional music. It's played at every sort of celebration. Reputed luthiers, the Aktars are passionate craftsmen. After having first roughed out the main pieces, Muharrem undertakes the laborious task of the marquetry.
Prune and juniper wood are the best woods for making kemençes.
Tut ağacı.
Once dry, prune wood retains the original sound and is very resistant to climatic variations. I learned how to make kemençes all by myself. Originally, I bought an instrument to play. Then, after carefully studying it, I began to make them.
The most difficult stage is precisely aligning all the parts in order to obtain the right sound. Though he's only 16, Aytan, Muharrem's son, is already a much sought-after musician for marriages and other important celebrations. Going up the valley that leads south out of Trabzon, we come to Livera. Livera is a former Greek village from which most of the inhabitants fled in 1924. According to legend, they left a buried treasure behind them, and some of them discreetly returned about 15 years ago to retrieve it. Here, the inhabitants are celebrating Orthodox Christmas. This year, it falls on the 14th of January. Dressed in traditional costumes, a group of villagers are waiting for the sound of the kemençe to form large circles and dance the horon. The crowd is anxiously waiting. Many people have come from the town and the neighboring valleys. In winter, such distractions are rare. The coastline north of Trabzon is covered by modern building complexes, a sign of real estate pressure. But there are still a few old seaside villas left, now converted into guest houses. On sunny days, you'll see tourists swimming here. The weather is milder now, and we can visit the villages at higher altitudes. Many of these were once staging posts on the caravan routes. The Santa Harabelli Monastery overlooks the valley and dominates a village composed of 7 hamlets founded in the 17th century by the Greeks. This was a prosperous period for Greek merchants, but the 19th century marked its golden age. When the last snows melt in June, these alpine pastures become a magnificent and well-preserved natural space. The men then tend to their flocks of sheep and goats, and the women cultivate vegetables on this very fertile earth. We are back in Karashia, in Jalal's village. Here, nature has reclaimed its rights. Tea and hazelnuts grow everywhere in profusion. It's so overgrown that it's difficult to get from house to house. The village is only inhabited for a few weeks, during the tea and hazelnut harvests. The younger generation prefers more comfortable flats in the city to country life. Summer is still a busy period. The animals are brought back to the village to be milked. This milk is then made into butter.
Nowadays is getting empty.
The village is gradually emptying out. The older generation dies, and the younger generation prefer to go down there in the cities for work.
This area, these gardens is not
Because these gardens and fields aren't enough to sustain a young family.
That's why the
So they
people
leave.
start to go to city.
Aynen. Sokağa çıkma yasağı var da
Evet.
çıkamayı edemiyor.
Orada bize
O
pazar
yüzden-
günleri işte us pazar şey ettim ondan sonra geldim yani. Us pazardan sonra geldim.
But even if they have to live alone, the elderly still want to stay in the hamlet and live amongst the beautiful hazelnut trees that provide the village with its main resource. Jalal's family make a living from hazelnuts and tea. They also have a kitchen garden that gives them vegetables all summer long.
Now we finished the first.
We've just finished the first tea harvest.
Now we are getting ready.
We'll do all we can to get a second one.
Harvest, and then in the August.
Then in
we will
August,
start to
we'll
collect
harvest the hazelnuts.
hazelnut in this area. Now we are cleaning.
At the moment, we're weeding the field.
Garden. in
And if all goes
September.
well,
We
we'll
will
have corn in
get some
September
Fresh corn in this
in these gardens.
garden, small garden.
Abi yeşillerin hepsi yabani da.
Hepimiz şeyleri almadık.
All around Ardisem, huge fields of tea embellish the mountainsides up to an altitude of 1,000 meters. For the most part, these are family plots, as here in Handel. In June, the whole Bal family gets involved. The local farmers work for the village cooperative, which sends the harvest to the different factories located along the coast. Tea is one of the most consumed products in the region, so efficiency is essential. Quantity is preferred over quality, and harvesting is rather rudimentary.
A worker can pick about 200 to 300 kilos a day.
Zachariah is trying a new method with electric shears.
The higher the altitude, the better the quality of the tea. What they grow on the coast is nothing like what we grow here. But the price is the same. There's no difference in price. But there is in quality.
Production is largely supported by the state. It fixes prices and manages the factories in return. At the end of the day, the sacks are loaded onto a four-wheel drive that brings them to the village cooperative a little lower down. All over the area, people are still very busy on these rather unpleasant. All over the area, people are still very busy on these rather impressive slopes. The first rains of summer are heavy. The harvest must be collected before they begin. As for Erdal, he's only just finished working in the fields. Now he heads off to his beehives higher up in the valley. The hives are placed at the top of a tower whose base has been surrounded by scrap metal to discourage predators. So the bees can sleep in peace. At night, Erdal and his friends take turns keeping guard in this small shelter, ready to scare away any greedy bears.
We take water from a spring. There's one nearby. We bought the tea in the shop. It's organic. Then we get the samovar going. This is both the traditional method of making tea and it's organic. The result is excellent.
Açılanlar onları takip edemiyoruz yani. Kaçkarı gör, nereyi görürsen gör, aklın durur.
You pour concentrated tea in the glass, then you dilute it with boiling water. These friends wouldn't trade places for anything in the world. Zachariah's four-wheel drive has arrived at the co-op. Before the farmers are paid, the bags are weighed and checked. Then they're loaded onto trucks and driven down to the factories. There's no shortage of factories in this region, and many of them, large and small alike, function both day and night during the harvest season in order to process the large quantities of tea that arrive. In the region of Idea, the rainy season has transformed the landscape. In July, after the snows melted, a very dense forest appears. Here, beehives are found in the treetops. These are called karakovans. Although Mustafa is 70 years old, he still climbs up 15-meter rickety ladders to harvest this unique quality honey. Up this high, he knows that the bears haven't got a chance of stealing his honey. Mustafa believes that everything that the bee produces should go into the pot. Absolutely everything, from the nectar to the propolis wrapped in its cells. This strong honey ensures anyone who consumes it a healthy winter. Up above the clouds hiding Idea, the Alpine village of Avusor, at an altitude of over 2,000 meters, is bathed in sunshine. As soon as the last snows have melted, families from the valley go back up with their herds. Their mountain homes are small and low. They are built like this in order to resist winter avalanches.
He's just been born. He's only 3 or 4 days old. He's so small.
Ismail has a handsome herd. With the help of his nephew Osman, he looks after the newborns that aren't walking yet. Then he finishes the milking before setting off on a long day's walk. He has a hearty breakfast, melted cheese, bread, and strong tea.
We're happy with our lives. Well, we sort of have to be. Yes, I can see that. I understand. There's no bread without toil, as the saying goes. Would you rather have lived down in Sharm el-Sheikh? No, I like living here. I've been here since I was 10 years old. I've always been an animal breeder.
One last sorting and the herd can leave for the pass. There, vast pastures await them.
We're constantly on guard. There are wolves. There are bears that'll attack the herd. You can't ever leave the sheep alone. That's just not possible.
Just opposite is Kaçkar Degi. At nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, it dominates the plains below. Behind it, the Pontus Range stretches eastwards. The snow ferns around Lake Avusor have only just melted. We head north towards the Mashel Valley on the Georgian border. In these well-preserved forested basins, two neighboring cultures intermingle. The Mashel Valley has been a certified Biosphere reserve since 2005. The hamlet of Efeler is one of the few villages in Turkey to be occupied by Georgians. The Avci family lives here in near self-sufficiency. Once his morning's work is done, Femi eats a hearty breakfast.
Having dual nationality is not a problem here. I'm Georgian, but I'm a Turkish citizen. There's no problem about this. Everything works just fine.
Femi's wife is getting ready to make butter. She uses a hand-turned churn to separate the cream from the milk.
This is the only biosphere reserve in Turkey. Really? Is that so? It has huge biodiversity, especially in terms of endemic plants. There are 3,000 different species of flowers and insects here.
Femi is not one to overlook such wonderful natural assets, and he has set up a number of beehives in this little corner of paradise. In this region, the mosques are built of wood. This one, destroyed by an avalanche in 1955, was rebuilt through the generosity of the local people who came and offered bits of wood from their own homes. Not far away is the other village mosque, and it's just as beautifully decorated. Maral is the last Turkish village before the border. A majestic 63-meter-high waterfall enhances this magnificent valley. On the road to Artvin, several dams have been constructed in order to control the Chorul River, which winds between large cliffs. This kind of construction is not without consequences. The Giykur Dam buried an entire village underwater. Heading northeast towards Şavşar, we arrive in an area with alpine pastures so green that this region is known as the Turkish Switzerland. At 1,900 meters altitude near the village of Disharu, the panorama is simply spectacular. The first alpine pastures appear near Lake Balik at an elevation of 2,000 meters. Kamal is 74 years old. All he has left is a few cows. His sons didn't want to take over his huge herds of sheep that once numbered up to 12,000 head.
I come from Pinali. We've just arrived here. We'll stay in these alpine pastures for about a month. In early July, we'll go higher up to another mountain pasture on a plateau. We'll stay there for 2 months, then come back down here and stay until the end of October.
Nestled at an altitude of 2,500 meters, Yeni Kösla is also an alpine pasture village. Like Kamal, the Alagos family has had to reduce the size of its herds. And yet, even today, Perihan doesn't stop working for a second.
We're not particularly pleased to live in these conditions, but we have no choice. We'd like to have more comforts, but that's the way it is. We have no jobs, no salary, so we look after animals.
In the morning, Perihan makes cheese from fresh milk. The whole family lives in the same room. At this altitude, the air is cool, and the stove must be kept well stoked.
I'm making bread. I'm kneading the dough. When it's fermented, I'll cook it in the wood-burning stove.
Next door, the neighbors are using a yayık to churn butter in the old-fashioned way.
Az daha çeviriyor. Az daha çevir yavrum. Tamam sonra. Buna tereyağı.
There we are. This is the butter I've just made from the cream.
Kaynaktan çıkıyor. Burada var bak. Bir sene, 2 sene buna bir şey olmaz.
It keeps for a year or two. We'll put it in the storeroom, then we'll take it up to the mountains when we go higher. It keeps really well.
Within the next 2 weeks, the whole village will leave for the high alpine pastures. Summer's going to be rather cold for them up there. In the Gözidegi range, the village of Cevizli is full of history. It's home to a beautiful collection of traditional wooden houses built in a regional style. Some of them are nearly 200 years old. Built at the end of the first millennium, the Georgian church in Tibe is a place of pilgrimage for followers of this Orthodox rite. Originally dedicated to the Virgin Mary, the church contained many sacred objects before it was destroyed in the 1950s. We continue our journey eastwards towards Kars, located near the Armenian border. The valley is carefully guarded by the Setan Castle, or the Devil's Castle. The imposing cliffs that surround it, as well as its solid walls, are perhaps not unrelated to its name. A little further north, the medieval site of Ani stretches along an isolated plateau and overlooks a ravine that forms a natural border with Armenia. This medieval city is a combination of residential, religious, and military buildings of various styles. They were built over several centuries by Christian and then Muslim dynasties. Ani's apogee was during the 10th and 11th centuries, when it became the capital of the medieval Bagratid Armenian kingdom. At that time, Ani drew its wealth from its control over a branch of the Silk Road. The Mongolian invasion marked the beginning of the city's decline. This was consumed in 1319 by a devastating earthquake. Today, the site offers a complete range of the medieval architectural styles that developed here between the 7th and the 13th centuries. The ruins scattered over this vast plain give the place a very special atmosphere. On the road to Kars, the village of Bogetepe offers the best cheese in the region. These wheels of cheese are made in much the same way as is Beaufort, a cheese from the French Alps. But apart from the technique used, the diversity of the nearby alpine pastures is a guarantee of quality.
We have about 600 varieties of plants here. We couldn't get a cheese like this if our cows hadn't grazed on these plants. We make the cheese between May and July. It's the only period we can use the pastures.
Kars is a very old city. Its foundations may date back to the Stone Age. With a very eventful history, it has passed under the control of all the great nations. This gives an idea of the highly strategic position it must have held to have generated so many conflicts. Even today, the region is under pressure. From without, the Armenian border is contested, and from within, the Islamo-conservative movement is a major source of tension. Recently, an attempt has been made to restore historic buildings in the city. It is with a parting regret that we leave these mountains of Anatolia. From winter's snow-covered plains to summer's verdant forests, the valleys of eastern Turkey, so secret, have revealed some of their natural and cultural treasures to us. And we look forward to discovering more and more on our next journey.